Hello, it is a dreary, rainy Saturday afternoon in the city of Sumter. This is your review for quiz number three. I shared a study guide with you. Um, Please refer to it as you watch this. And as always, if you have any questions, please email me and I'll be happy to get back in touch with you. Question number one. What is irregular drama? And give an example of irregular drama. By the end of the 18th century, if you recall, the neoclassical period and their rules or their principles kind of governed theatrical writing. But by the beginning of the 1800s, people were getting a little tired of these restrictions. So they started writing plays that didn't follow the rules. If a play followed the neoclassical rules, it was considered regular drama. If it didn't, it was considered irregular drama. So the answer is irregular drama is a play that does not follow the neoclassical rules. An example of irregular drama is something called a ballad opera. We talked about Mozart's Magic Flute. That's an example of irregular drama, a short play with music that breaks all of the rules, basically. If you look down the list of them, the play doesn't follow any of them. Question number two. Romanticism rejected the principles of what? Neoclassicism, the neoclassical rules. Romanticism rejected those rules. Number three, what was the pop culture manifestation of Romanticism? Melodrama. Melodrama was popular. It became big and people enjoyed it. Melodrama had everything. It was vast. The scope of the story just traveled from place to place. And putting it on a stage was exciting and it opened up all kinds of possibilities for staging and all kinds of stuff. Question number four. Who wrote The Count of Monte Cristo? Alexander Dumas wrote the book. It was adapted into a play that was extremely popular during the middle of the 19th century. Which Irish actor performed the Count of Monte Cristo for most of his career? That man was James O'Neill, father of Eugene O'Neill. James O'Neill was an accomplished actor, and he bought the rights to the play and toured all over the world performing the role of the Count of Monte Cristo to great success. He was extremely wealthy. Who wrote A Doll's House? Henrik Ibsen. Henrik Ibsen, Norwegian playwright, known also at that time as the founder of modern drama. The realists believed that character was determined by heredity and environment. Heredity and environment. The Doll's House received terrible reviews from critics when it was first produced or performed. Why was it so poorly received? The main character, Nora Helmer, in A Doll's House, defied all of the rules and norms and ways of behavior of a woman during the 19th century. She um, broke the law. But possibly what really made critics very upset about the story, about the play, was that what she did at the end. She chose to leave her husband and her children, literally, physically leave them, go into the world, not knowing where she was going to do or where she was going to go or what she was going to do. A woman would not do that. But we have the protagonist, a woman of this play, doing that. That angered the critics. They couldn't believe it. It wasn't appropriate in any way. What was the first independent theater? Where was it located? Who was its director? The first independent theater was Theater Libre, Théâtre Libre, in Paris. Its director was a man by the name of Andre Antoine, Antoine. Which French novelists believed that theater should be a slice of life? All right, let's go back a couple of questions. Henrik Ibsen wrote realism as well as naturalism. A Doll's House is an example of a realist play. That's realism. A more extreme form of realism was something called naturalism. Émile Zola, the French author who said that theater should be a slice of life, Émile Zola was a naturalist director. He was referring to naturalism when he referred to theater being a slice of life. Number 11. Which German opera composer conceived of the democratic configuration in theater? And he was also the first director to do this. His name was Richard Wagner. He was indeed an opera composer, and he was the first theater director to lower the lights above the audience and then bring up the lights on the stage, creating in the theater um, the real world, which is the world that the audience inhabits, and the imagined world of the play, the theater that we are creating on stage. Also, the democratic configuration refers to the arrangement of the seats in the theater. Um, Wagner wanted to do away with the conventional, at that time, interior theater arrangement, the pit, the gallery, and the box seats, all of them basically representing status and social class. Creating this democratic configuration gave everyone in the theater a more or less equal view of the stage so that everybody could see the stage and take in the performance. Okay, what was the first independent theater in Russia and who was its director? The first independent theater in Russia was the Moscow Art Theater. The director of that theater was Konstantin Stanislavski. Stanislavski, if you recall, was the man who developed a system for actors that is followed, taught, studied throughout the world. If you go through any theater program, a BFA, an MFA, and beyond, you will encounter Stanislavski and study the principles that he came up with. Moscow Art Theater, Konstantin Stanislavski. Number 13, what was the first artistic movement to reject realism? Symbolism. Symbolism was the first artistic movement to reject realism. Number 14, art for art's sake describes the ethos of which 19th century artistic movement? That movement is English aestheticism. The feeling was, the belief was that art existed for sensuous pleasure. It existed to make us feel good. We didn't go to the theater or view art to see ourselves reflected. Our lives, our trials and tribulations. We went to the theater to be entertained. We viewed art in hopes that it would make us feel better. English aestheticism, art for art's sake. Number 15, who wrote The Importance of Being Earnest? The Importance of Being Earnest was written by Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde, his plays, The Importance of Being Earnest, is an example of English aestheticism in theater um, that represents that period. All right, what is absurdism? Who wrote Waiting for Godot? By the end of World War II, the devastation of the two wars in Europe had a great influence, great impact on all artists, as we will see in just a moment or two as we're discussing theater and art during World War One, leaving artists feeling like the world was absurd. It had gone so far beyond what we understood it to be prior to the war. It had become absurd. And for that reason, art should reflect that absurdity, that, um, you know, twisted, irrational kind of behavior. The play Waiting for Godot was written by a man by the name of Samuel Beckett. He is probably the most famous absurdist. He is not the only one. Eugene Ionesco, for example, is also an absurdist playwright. But that one, that play, Waiting for Godot, is one that when we talk about absurdist theater, that's one we refer to most. Okay, who wrote No Exit? What is the play an example of? Very close to absurdism in terms of period and the impact that kind of brought it into a artistic period is a period called existentialism. Existentialism, questioning our existence. Trying to find an explanation for who we are and why we are in the situation that we are in, what brought us here, and what does that have to do with the rest of our lives? How is that going to form it? Jean Paul Sartre um, created a work, wrote a play called No Exit, and it is existentialist theater. Um, in the play No Exit, we have three characters who are trapped in a room together for eternity. That is hell for them. They are in hell. And with the play comes the kind of, I wouldn't call it a slogan, but the quandary, the question, what is hell? Hell is other people because you must spend eternity with people that you really have nothing in common with. As a matter of fact, you probably just don't like. That is hell. Uh, all right, moving over to the US here, Thornton Wilder wrote a play called Our Town, and it is considered modified realism. It is realism, but it is within the writing of the play, within the structure of the play, the character or the playwright Thornton Wilder allows these characters to step outside of reality in a sense, and in that way, reality is modified, it's changed, it's different. For example, he has a character that is known as the stage manager who more or less provides a great deal of the exposition. So that by the time we get to the first scene where characters come out and interact with one another, we know them. We know the story. We know where we are. We know what's happening. Um, that's modifying realism. Also within the play, Our Town characters pantomime everything. Um, if, for example, they are drinking a cup of coffee, they would pantomime the cup, painting a wall, washing dishes, preparing a meal. All of that would be pantomime. That is certainly modifying reality. Who wrote Cat on a Hot Tin Roof? Tennessee Williams, American playwright, brought us lots of plays: A Streetcar Named Desire, The Glass Menagerie, 27 Wagons Full of Cotton. These are plays that kind of really made an impact during the 20th century in the U.S. His plays are constantly um, being produced. Sumter Little Theater, as a matter of fact, is in the process of getting that show cast right now, and they will present that in February. Okay, now 2021 and 22, excuse me, still getting over a cold, it's almost gone. 2021 and 22 talk about the three artistic movements that emerged during World War One. So we're kind of going backwards a little bit. 20, the distortion of the human spirit by false values describes expressionism. Number 21, nonsensical art or anti-art. That is Dada. And finally, art can be nothing but violence, cruelty, and injustice. Futurism. Number 23, epic theater was conceived by which German theater artist? It is also known as what? The German theater artist is Bertolt Brecht, and epic theater is also considered theater of alienation. We talked about how Brecht wanted to create a distance between the play and the audience, hoping to um, make an impact so that the audience never forgets that they are in a theater watching a play. um, Not having the audience kind of invest in a story and feel some sort of emotion or some sort of empathy for the characters, but having the experience of understanding what's happening. Ultimately, what Brecht wanted was that after experiencing epic theater, the audience would want to go out and change society in some way. Next, we have 24. Antonin Artaud led which theater movement? This movement is also called what? Antonin Artaud led a movement or was very influential in the movement known as theater of cruelty. And if epic theater was theater of alienation, theater of cruelty is theater of confrontation. With theater of cruelty, the things that we bury in our subconscious are brought out, they are exposed. You are in this experience confronting these repressed feelings, um, dealing with them, having the impact of that oppressive uh, experience influence the story. Um, so theater of cruelty, theater of confrontation. All right, number 25, postmodernism. Chapter 7 addresses modernism and says that modernism is the period between 1900 and 1960, give or take. And we've talked about the different movements during that time. Um, futurism, Dada, expressionism, absurdism, existentialism, epic theater, theater of cruelty. All of these different forms or genres, in addition to what we experienced during the 18th century and 17th century, realism, um, all of that, when we talk about postmodernism, is accessible to us. It's not like one theater production is limited to one genre or one way of presenting it. It's not limited to that. We can do anything. Boundaries are broken down, and everything is accessible. And in a way to put things together and create a cohesive and understandable theater piece. Yeah, 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 yeah. Which Polish theater artist led the poor theater movement? What is poor theater? Which method of dramatic action is absent in poor theater productions? The poor theater movement was led by a man named Jerzy Grotowski. The whole philosophy of poor theater that is that to make really good theater, all you need is a well written play, well trained actors, and a table and a couple of chairs. That's all you need. So, in this way, the element of physical action is spectacle. Spectacle is removed from the poor theater process. You don't have um, costumes or elaborate sets or realistic sets, representational anything. It is the bare bones. It is poor theater. Extremely powerful, very influential. Polish laboratory theater, Jerzy Grotowski. Who wrote Angels in America? What does the play address? Angels in America was written by Tony Kushner, and the play addresses the AIDS epidemic in the world. The power of the play is that Kushner puts a universal face on the disease, so it is not just explored through one um, demographic, one subculture. It is the disease of everyone. Everyone experiences it. Um, which African American playwright gave us the Century Cycle? That was August Wilson, who wrote a play for every decade of the 20th century that demonstrates, expresses, explores the experience of African Americans. Very powerful collection of plays. Um, I mentioned in class a couple of them. One play, Fences, directed by Denzel Washington. The movie was, anyway, that also featured Denzel Washington and Viola Davis. Also, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which was a Netflix production, but it featured Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther, in a performance that was absolutely outstanding. If you ever get a chance to watch it, please do. Um, Ah, Broadway theaters. How many seats are in an off Broadway theater? Up to 99. Can't have more than 99 seats in an off Broadway theater. What about an off Broadway theater? In an off Broadway theater, you can have up to 499 seats. And in a Broadway theater, you can go beyond that 499. As a matter of fact, if you go beyond 499 seats, it is considered Broadway. So it all has to do with the number of seats in the theater. Number 30, What is La Mama and who was its founder? La Mama is an off Broadway theater in New York City, down in the East Village. It was founded by a woman named Ellen Stewart. As a matter of fact, Ellen Stewart, because of her vision and her drive and her commitment to making La Mama a theater for international artists in New York City, she was La Mama. She was the mother. She created it. She nurtured it, and it was she started this effort in the early 1960s. It is still going strong, still serving the international theater community. And finally, who is Marina Abramovic? Name one of her art performances. Marina Abramovic is a performance artist. Please Google her or look for her videos on YouTube. If you were in my class, I know we saw several of them. She uh, most recently, she's famous for a lot of her um, performance art pieces, but one that we focused on, well, two. One is The Artist is Present, and that was the exhibition that was in the Museum of Modern Art in New York City around, I believe, 2007, early 2000s. And in this exhibition, she is alone in the space, and she's sitting at a table in a chair, and on the other end of the table is another chair. And the sense is that members of the crowd who have gathered for the exhibition or to see it come and they sit in the other chair, and there is no conversation. They just look at each other, looking in each other's eyes. Um, and she did it for 3 months, 6 days a week. She would come to the museum and go in the exhibition room and sit there from 8 o'clock until the museum closed, usually, I guess, around 5 o'clock, 6 in the afternoon. And people would come and sit in front of her. Uh, and experience that. And people were moved by the whole performance aspect of this experience. Um, yeah, so that brings us to the end of the review. Um, I hope you're doing well. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. And if I don't see you, and for those of you who are in the online class, I won't. Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a great holiday. And looking forward to seeing you or possibly working with you in the new year.